Hey folks, Andrew from Knapsack here, and I wanted to walk through a little exploration of how we see teams layering Knapsack into a product operation that is already using Storybook and plans to continue to use Storybook alongside. So what I have here is a representation of what we often see when we come into teams. We've got our source elements in Figma, in code, and in design tokens, and usually at least the tokens and components are captured in Storybook. We have some documentation, we have some stories that power the playgrounds, the interactions, and ultimately those stories often are fed into testing as part of the flow that is going to release those source coded components in NPM packages that can be consumed downstream in applications. And sometimes we find that the Storybook instance is used by broad design system consumers, sometimes just engineers. But generally speaking, this is a flow that works really well, especially in the engineering org. Right? We've often invested a lot of time and resources in setting Storybook up, setting our testing infrastructure up, configuring our plugins, all the things that go into the leveraging Storybook. And that's a lot to walk away from when, frankly, it's working pretty well. We don't really ask the teams do that. If we zoom out here and scroll down to what does this look like when we layer in Knapsack, the goal is all about layering in additional capabilities. And if I zoom in on my key here, we want to think about how do we explicitly have features that are going to enable designers, enable additional collaborators throughout the digital production workflow, and also how we're going to make sure we can make use of not only workflows that rely on engineers to enable, but cross-functional workflows, more automation, and specifically focus on how are we enabling AI and working on agentic and generative production moving forward. And all of that is where Knapsack's going to come in with layered on additional capabilities to what you have with Storybook. So if I go down here to the future state architecture, what you'll see is everything on the left has stayed the same. We've got our coded components, our tokens, we've got Storybook, we've got testing, we've got CI/CD. Awesome. Ain't broke, don't fix it. On the right, we've added a whole suite of capabilities to Knapsack. And so in Knapsack, we have a handful of different content types. Is some way you can think about it. We have what we call patterns and the different demos of your components. Those are our interactive playgrounds. They're fed from the same source code feeding Storybook and is really automated. Once you set up a design source once, actually the cross-functional teams can continue to pull in new components as they're built, make demos with them that can be used in dynamic documentation, that can be used to build testing examples to share with users or accessibility, anything that's a link-based testing platform. So all kinds of capabilities are unlocked within our patterns and our demo system. We have the ability to work on tokens and actually contribute those tokens and variables, see how changes to variables might affect production coded components, even define new modes and new themes. And then we have our pages, or sort of the documentation that's dynamic based on Figma assets, production code assets, content guidelines, all of the context and standards of your system. And then we also have the ability to compose prototypes and interfaces for features, pages, applications, using all these things, using your production source code, using your tokens and variables, or a new mode within your set of variables, your collections. And all of that can be interacted with by a really broad base of consumers for your design system. That can be very approachable for anyone: designer, engineer, copywriter, product manager, executive, accessibility analyst, data engineer, you name it. And then increasingly, a lot of the focus is moving towards agentic and generative production. And so all the things connected to Knapsack will also be available here at the end of August in an MCP server. And more features coming on the AI-enabled side. But making sure that we can make use of all of the work you've done to build a great system, to define standards, to define your token architecture, that's such valuable context to enable AI agents and LLMs with. And so really what we're talking about when we say, hey, let's add Knapsack in, is not let's yank away all the things that are working with Storybook, but let's layer in additional capabilities for powering your product operation across functions, for enabling your AI agents, and opening up some new pathways to things you are doing, like testing. Right? Keep testing in Storybook, but a lot of teams find it's valuable to have accessibility analysts and testing analysts and even just designers working on making artifacts with production code, our demos, that can be fed into both automated testing to link-based testing, as I mentioned. So lots more to enhance what you're doing and add a lot more capabilities without disrupting everything that's working well today. If you have any questions about how specifically Knapsack can work along Storybook with you, or what a migration pathway or future state might look like, we're always here to chat. You can reach out at hello@knapsack.cloud or help@knapsack.cloud. We'd love to nerd out with you.